What if I told you that the world's most advanced artificial intelligence has just taken a massive leap forward? An AI so powerful, so capable, that experts say to transform the way we think, work, and even live. It can write, it can analyze, it can create, sometimes in ways that feel shockingly human. This is GPT-5. But what exactly is GPT-5? How does it actually work? What makes it so much more advanced than GPT-4? And perhaps the most important question of all, what does it mean for the future of humanity? Stick with me, because in this video we're going deep into the origins, the breakthroughs, the possibilities, and yes, the risks behind GPT-5. By the end, you'll not only understand what this AI really is, but also why it might be the most important invention of our time. If you're fascinated by technology, science, and the mysteries of the future, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, because what you're about to learn might just change the way you see the world. All right, so what is GPT-5 and why is everyone talking about it? To answer that, we need to take a quick trip back in time to see how AI models like GPT even began. The origins of GPT, artificial intelligence or AI, has been around for decades. In fact, the idea dates back to the 1950s, when computer scientists dreamed of building machines that could think and learn like humans. But here's the thing. For most of history, AI was more theory than reality. Early AI could only follow strict rules. It couldn't adapt. It couldn't really learn. If you programmed it to play chess, it could play chess. But if you asked it to write a poem or explain a scientific idea, forget it. That changed with something called machine learning. Instead of hard-coding rules, scientists started training machines on data, tons of data. The machines began spotting patterns on their own, making predictions, and even generating outputs without being explicitly told how to. And then came one of the most important breakthroughs in AI history, the transformer model. Introduced by Google in 2017, transformers allowed AI to understand language in an entirely new way. This is the foundation of GPT, which stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. Now, let's go step by step through the evolution of GPT. GPT-1, 2018, the very first version. It had 117 million parameters. Think of parameters as little knobs the AI uses to adjust its understanding of language. Not very big by today's standards, but it proved the concept. AI could generate human-like sentences. GPT-2, 2019, this one was much larger, with 1.5 billion parameters. Suddenly, the text it generated was almost indistinguishable from human writing. OpenAI even hesitated to release it fully at first, fearing it might be misused. GPT-3, 2020, now we're talking massive scale. GPT-3 had 175 billion parameters. It could write essays, code, answer questions, even generate creative fiction. The world was stunned. It felt like talking to a machine that could think. GPT-4, 2023, the next leap. GPT was not only bigger, but also multimodal, meaning it could understand not just text, but also images. Suddenly, you could show it a picture and it could describe or analyze it. People use it to write research papers, build apps, analyze law, and even pass professional exams. Each version of GPT has been a giant leap forward. And now we have GPT-5. The question is, what makes it so different? What is GPT-5? All right, so now that we know the history, let's dive into the star of the show, GPT-5. At its core, GPT-5 is a language model. That means it's trained to predict and generate text based on patterns it learned from a massive dataset. Basically, huge chunks of the internet, books, articles, research papers, and more. But here's the important part. GPT-5 isn't just about spitting out memorized facts. It doesn't know the way a human knows. Instead, it's incredibly good at predicting what words, sentences, or even ideas are most likely to come next. So when you ask GPT-5 a question, it's not searching the web for an answer. Instead, it's drawing from billions of patterns it has learned, combining them in real time, and generating something brand new. Now, GPT-4 already did this impressively, but GPT-5 takes it to an entirely new level. Why? Because GPT-5 isn't just bigger, it's smarter. it has far better reasoning abilities. That means it can handle complex, multi-step problems in ways GPT-4 often struggled with. It has much longer memory. One of GPT-4's weaknesses was that it could forget context after a certain number of words. GPT-5 can remember longer conversations and stay consistent across them. It's multimodal at a deeper level. GPT-4 could process images. GPT-5 can handle text, images, audio, and possibly even video, make it more versatile than ever. And finally, it's been tuned to be more aligned with human values. That means it's less likely to generate harmful or biased content, though it's far from perfect. Some researchers even believe GPT-5 feels like a step closer to what's called artificial general intelligence, or AGI. That's the point where an AI can perform any intellectual task a human can, not just specialized ones. We're not there yet, but GPT-5 feels like we're inching closer. Key improvements in GPT-5. Now that we know what GPT-5 is, let's break down what actually makes it different from GPT-4. Because while these upgrades might sound technical, they have massive real-world effects. 1. Sharper reasoning abilities. GPT-4 was impressive, but if you asked it to solve complicated multi-step math problems or reason through a tricky riddle, it would often get confused. GPT-5, on the other hand, is much better at what's called chain-of-thought reasoning. That means it can follow steps logically, just like a human would. You can give it a business problem, like, how can I reduce costs in my company without cutting employees? It will actually break down the problem step by step, analyze possible solutions, weigh pros and cons, and give you a structured answer. This is a game changer because it shifts AI from being just a fancy autocomplete machine to something that feels like an actual thinker. 2. Longer memory. One of GPT-4's biggest limitations was its context window. After a certain number of words, it would just forget what was said earlier. That made long conversations or big projects difficult. GPT-5 fixes this with an extended memory system. That means it can remember far more of the conversation, and in some cases, keep a form of persistent memory across sessions. Imagine this. You're writing a book with GPT-5. Instead of reminding it every time about your characters, your plot, or your writing style, it can remember these details across multiple writing sessions. It's like having a human assistant who actually recalls what you worked on yesterday. 3. Multimodal intelligence. GPT-4 introduced some multimodal abilities. You could feed it images and it could describe them. Cool, but limited. GPT-5 is expected to take this way further. We're talking about being able to handle text, images, audio, and potentially even video input and output. Imagine uploading a graph and asking GPT-5 to explain the trends, or uploading an audio recording and having GPT-5 not just transcribe it, but analyze the tone, summarize the points, and even suggest responses. Or picture giving it a video clip, and it describes everything happening inside. This means GPT-5 isn't just a language tool anymore. It's moving toward being a universal AI assistant. 4. Human alignment and safety. One of the biggest criticisms of past GPT models was bias and misinformation. Since they're trained on internet data, they can sometimes reflect harmful stereotypes or produce dangerous content. GPT-5 has undergone much more intensive fine-tuning to avoid this. It's better at saying no to unsafe requests and more careful in how it generates information. Of course, no AI is perfect, but the improvements are real. This matters because as AI becomes more powerful, keeping it safe and aligned with human values becomes one of the biggest challenges of our time. 5. Efficiency and speed. Despite being bigger and more powerful, GPT-5 is designed to run faster. That means responses are snappier, and it can handle more users at once without lagging. This is crucial because GPT models aren't just used for fun. They're being integrated into businesses, schools, research labs, and more. Speed equals productivity. So, in short, GPT-5 isn't just a bigger version of GPT-4. It's smarter. It remembers more, it sees and hears better, it's safer, and it runs faster. But the real question is, what can it actually do with all that power? Real-world uses of GPT-5. Let's step out of theory and into reality. What are people actually using GPT-5 for today? The answers might surprise you. 1. Education. For centuries, education has been one size fits all. A teacher lectures, students take notes, and only some of them fully grasp the lesson. GPT-5 changes this by acting as a personal tutor. Imagine a high school student struggling with physics. Instead of searching YouTube for explanations, they ask GPT-5, "Can you explain Newton's laws of motion to me as if I'm 10 years old?" GPT-5 instantly adapts, breaking it down with simple examples. Then if the student says, "Okay, now explain it to me at a college level," GPT-5 shifts gears and dives into advanced equations. This adaptability is something even the best human teachers struggle to provide at scale. 2. Medicine. Doctors already use AI tools for diagnosis, but GPT-5 brings a new layer. By analyzing a patient's medical history, lab results, and symptoms, it can suggest possible conditions or treatment options, essentially acting as a second opinion. For example, a rural doctor without access to top specialists could upload patient data into GPT-5 and instantly receive insights that might have otherwise required a team of experts. It's not about replacing doctors. It's about making them smarter, faster, and more effective. 3. Coding and software development. This is one of GPT's strongest areas. With GPT-5, developers can literally describe what kind of app they want in plain English, and GPT-5 can write the code. Let's say you want a simple mobile app that tracks daily water intake. You could just say, "Build me a water tracking app with a clean interface and weekly charts." GPT-5 can generate the code, suggest frameworks, and even debug errors. This lowers the barrier to entry for programming. People who've never written a line of code can now build functional apps. It's like turning everyone into a developer overnight. 4. Entertainment and creativity. This one's fascinating. Writers are using GPT-5 to brainstorm plot twists. Musicians are collaborating with it to generate melodies. Game designers are using it to build dynamic storylines that respond to players in real time. Picture a video game where every non-playable character or NPC has realistic dialogue generated by GPT-5. Suddenly, the game world feels alive in a way we've never seen before. Or imagine sitting down to write a movie script. You pitch GPT-5 an idea, a time traveler stuck in a year 3000 trying to return home. GPT-5 doesn't just spit out a generic story. It gives you dialogue, characters, world-building details, and even suggests visual themes. That's not just useful, that's creative partnership. 5. Business and productivity. Companies are using GPT-5 to automate customer service, draft reports, analyze trends, and even predict financial outcomes. Think about how much time is wasted in emails, meetings, and writing documents. GPT-5 can take notes during meetings, summarize them, and send out action items instantly. It can draft contracts, analyze competitors, and even recommend business strategies. For small businesses especially, this is revolutionary. It's like hiring a team of consultants, researchers, and writers, except it's one AI model. So, whether it's education, healthcare, coding, creativity, or business, GPT-5 is already making its mark. But here's the thing, with power like this, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, because with great potential comes equally great risk. Risks, controversies, and ethics. Now, everything we've talked about so far makes GPT-5 sound like a miracle tool, and in many ways, it is. But here's the uncomfortable truth. The more powerful an AI becomes, the greater the risks it carries. And GPT-5 is no exception. One, misinformation and manipulation. One of the biggest risks is misinformation. GPT-5 can generate text so convincing, so realistic, that it's hard to tell fact from fiction. Imagine fake news articles written by GPT-5 or entire social media campaigns run by AI bots. They could sway public opinion, spread falsehoods, or even interfere with elections. It doesn't take much imagination to see how dangerous that could be. 2. Job displacement. Another huge concern is jobs. If GPT-5 can write, analyze, code, and even strategize, what happens to the millions of people whose jobs rely on those very skills? Writers, coders, customer support agents, paralegals, analysts, the list goes on. Of course, AI has the potential to create new jobs, just like past technologies did. But the transition could be rough, especially for people who don't have the opportunity to rest kill quickly. 3. Bias and fairness. Then there's bias. GPT-5 is trained on human data, and human data contains prejudice. That means GPT-5 can sometimes reproduce harmful stereotypes, even when it's not intended. OpenAI and other researchers are constantly working on this, but no system is perfect. And when AI starts influencing hiring decisions, healthcare recommendations, or even legal analysis, bias isn't just unfair, it can be dangerous. For over-reliance on AI. Another risk is something more subtle, over-reliance. The easier it becomes to use GPT-5, the more we might depend on it to think for us. Why write an essay when GPT-5 can do it? Why struggle with math when GPT-5 can solve it? It's a slippery slope, because while GPT-5 is powerful, it's not infallible. Blindly trusting AI could make us less critical, less independent, and ironically, less intelligent. 5. The unknowns. And finally, the scariest risk of all, the unknown. We've never had an AI this powerful, so we don't fully know what could go wrong. Some experts warn that once AI surpasses human intelligence in multiple domains, we may lose control altogether. It sounds like science fiction, but so did GPT-5 just 10 years ago. So yes, GPT-5 is extraordinary, but it comes with shadow side. And that brings us to the final question. Where do we go from here? The future beyond GPT-5. GPT-5 feels like the future, but in reality, it's just the beginning. OpenAI is already researching what comes next, GPT-6, GPT-7, and beyond. Each new model will likely be more powerful, more human-like, and more deeply integrated into our daily lives. Some experts believe we're on the path to artificial general intelligence, or AGI, the point where an AI can perform any intellectual task that a human can across all domains. If that happens, it won't just be a tool. It will be something closer to a thinking partner, maybe even a kind of digital life form. Others imagine a world where AI becomes as common as electricity. Always on, always there, helping us work, learn, and even create relationships. But here's the tension. Will AI remain under human control, or will the power dynamics shift in ways we can't yet imagine? The future of AI isn't just about technology. It's about philosophy, ethics, and the choices humanity makes in the coming years. So what is GPT-5? It's not just another chatbot. It's the most advanced language model ever built. A system that can reason, remember, see, hear, and create. A tool with the power to revolutionize education, medicine, business, and art. But it's also a mirror, reflecting both the brilliance and the dangers of human ambition. In many ways, GPT-5 isn't just about AI. It's about us, about how we choose to use it, regulate it, and live alongside it. Because make no mistake, the future is coming fast. And GPT-5 is just the beginning. If you found this deep dive eye-opening, smash that like button, subscribe for more future-shaping explorations, and drop a comment below. Do you think GPT-5 is humanity's greatest tool or our greatest risk? Thanks for watching, and as always, stay curious.